for example, if somebody had a genetically inherited disease,
Yeah.
and they could treat that disease more effectively without ongoing medical,
So like using a...
so like a gene therapy,
Yeah.
okay, then gene therapy where they could implant a good copy of the gene to overcome something that's defective. Very good. Okay, I think that's an excellent idea. Okay, and I think somebody who's suffering from cystic fibrosis would be very encouraged by that.
Yeah.
If it meant to produce Captain America,
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I'm in favour of that.
So just only in terms of for disease prevention or...
Yeah, I think correcting a metabolic disease or a disease process that would normally be treated anyway, but that this is a low-cost, effective way of treating it that's more permanent, that's got benefits for the patient and for society, then that's fine. How you distinguish between these two is sometimes blurred.
Okay.
The similar sort of thing could be said about genetic engineering crops, which is actually happening. Okay, so if you've got a very large multinational like Monsanto, who genetically engineers crops, an acquaintance of mine who's right up in it would say he's done that because the yield of wheat is going to be 50% better than if you use naturally artificially selected seeds. And so that extra amount, almost, you know, it's not double, but it's 50% more yield, is able to support X millions of more people in the world. And they are literally talking about millions of people. Okay. On the other side of the coin, though, you end up with the subsistence farmer having to be kowtowed to, or being kowtowed by the Monsanto, who's a large chemical company supplying the chemicals to germinate his thing and ripping off third world countries because they won't make the technology free and available to everybody. So if that's the model that we're going with, maybe human embryo modification would also go in that direction as well. I don't think there's really a need for human embryo experimentation anymore. I understand why they started off doing that, because it was difficult to find the right appropriate stem cells for them to have a collective amount of to experiment. But I think we're just about at the end of those days, so they'll be able to collect stem cells from adults. So that sort of thing I'm probably not in favour of as much. Having designer embryos, if that's what you're asking, okay, then that has some issues, okay. I can think of really appropriate things where they've done a very early diagnosis of, for instance, a classic one would be something like spina bifida, and they're able to maybe predict that that was going to happen, and then for genetically engineer that not to happen. Very noble. Getting rid of the girls because you only want boys, not so noble. Big issue, okay? And, you know, that's a pretty serious sort of thing to be looking at. Our legislators have got such a poor knowledge of genetics that it becomes a really murky area, okay? So I think in the future you're going to end up with geneticists that are also solicitors that are going to help with legislation because they're bright enough and know enough about it. But at the moment, the radio commentators don't understand it, really. Maybe some Year 11 biology students do, and some Year 12 do, and a few other people that are doing it. But by and large, the community have got no comprehension of what these scientists are doing. Therein lies a bit of an issue, because they've got really no knowledge of what the person's doing. So how do you rein in the scientist or the corporation that's providing the funds to go and do something that's perhaps not so ethical? So it's a difficult question.